Hello, welcome in. My name is Ricardo and this is Unique Wood Projects. And today we have a guest star. We have a planter here, which I want to make a base for. My mom's been requesting this project for quite a while now, and I think today's the time. So stick around and I'll show you how to make this into something that's a little bit more raised and a little bit more presentable. And the goal today is actually going to be to make this out of scrap wood. So stick around and I'll show you how to do that. So recently on my channel, I had uploaded a short where I showed that one of my family members dropped off a whole bunch of wood. It's kind of like a pallet, but it was like more industrial. And this is the result of a lot of that wood, right? A lot of stuff that very rough and had nails, and this is a lot of time to break down, and I haven't actually fully broken it down yet. But again, our goal is going to be to take scrap wood that you can get from pallets and stuff like that and build them into a project, right? This is a no cost type of project, and it'll make it so that this will look better inside a home or outside in your garden or what have you. And again, the point is you can make this for free. You just got to be willing to look. You could go into a lot of places like OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace is a great one where you go and just put free wood. And while that sounds funny, I'm sure this is what you can get, right? So this is a perfectly good 2x4. If you have a planer, which I don't expect a lot of you to have, you can plane the top side of this and make it even better. We're going to end up painting this or staining this. I'm not even sure. I have no plans for this, and we're going by the seat of our pants here. We just want to raise this planter off of, or sorry, this is a vase, raise this off of the ground and make this a little bit more presentable. So this is our main star of the show. We're going to get measurements around this, and then we're just going to go based off of what we need in order to elevate this plant. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is measure the outside dimensions of this pot, right? So in this case, this one is 12 inches and an eighth, it looks like. So we are going to try to make this just for some added space here on the side. I want it to be tight against the pot for stability. So we're gonna go with 12 1/4. So that's our first step, right? Is getting the measurement. Now with this piece of wood, yes, it does not look very pretty, but we're gonna clean that up in the end, right? So I have some nail holes here and I have some nail holes here. Now what I want to do, since our measurement was 12 1/4, it looks like I have the 12 1/4 in between the nail holes. So obviously my goal is going to be to get this good piece of wood here and possibly here, although that's rather ugly, but I mean, we could only work with what we have, right? So I'll get these cut down on the miter saw, and then we'll just go from there and see if I could get more pieces out of all of these, right? So again, work with what you have, and we'll see if we could get 4 pieces of these at 12 1/4. Now I have 2 pieces cut down to 12 1/4, and if you notice, they're not the same, right? So this is what you get for doing a project with scrap. So there's no consistency. So we're gonna try to help some of that consistency. So even though these are different widths, right? The goal is to cut these down. So we wanna cut them down into like squares. So let's measure how thick these are. So it's almost 1.5 inches, which is what a 2x4 typically is. So, yep, this is a little bit thicker. So go figure. So we are going to cut these so that they're square. I'm going to take off the rounded edge so that we have a better side profile. Once I take that edge off, we're going to cut them into a square. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the table saw for that. And the one thing I didn't mention is, like, yes, I'm using a miter saw, but you could have easily cut 2x4 with just a saw, a circular saw, hand saw, any type of saw will do, right? You're just cross cutting 2x4s. I hope that, you know, a lot of you are beginners in this channel, but I hope you at least have something to saw wood with, right? So if not, go buy a saw. It's not that expensive to just get a hand saw or something like that. Now, with the next part, which is the table saw, that one might be a little bit more complicated. So I have seen a lot of people cut these with the circular saw, right? So whatever your means of cutting this laterally is going to be, that's what you're going to want to do here, or possibly use this 2x4 as a whole. Maybe adapt some of the plans. Again, we're going off the fly here. I don't have any plans for this, so follow along with some of the things that we're going to do on a step project for this. So again, we have 2 pieces of 2x4s at 12 1/4. We're going to cut these down to more manageable pieces. Okay. So at this stage, you have two pieces of 12 1/4, right? You can sand these down. I actually ran them through the planer, so they look much cleaner. The rounded edges are gone. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut these into squares, right? So take whatever that measurement is from here to here. In this case, yours might be different. So take the measurement from here to here, measure from here to make it into a square of that same dimension. And I'm gonna do that in the table saw. Okay, and now we have these cut into 4, right? So now the goal for this is going to be to interlock these, right? In order to interlock these, we're gonna have to measure the halfway point and basically cut into each one so that we could put one into the other, basically, an overlap, okay? So let's do that next. So we're going to measure the total, and of course it's 12 1/4, right? How we had previously measured, and half of 12 1/4 is going to be 6 1/8. Just mark that there. And of course my neighbor's doing their lawn, so there's that. So sorry about the background noise if you happen to hear it. And in this case, make a line there. Okay, so that's the halfway mark, right? So we're gonna wanna mark these around to just get a sense of where the halfway mark is, all of these. And we're gonna mark it down the half here as well, right? So that we can mark our halfway point of our overlap. So I bought this cheap center finder, right? You could buy this on Amazon, and you basically just pivot it and it'll mark the halfway point for you. It's about the most convenient thing you could buy, and it's so cheap. It's like, it's not even worth it for you to try to measure out all of those, right? So those would be the halfway points. And basically what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to lap them over like this, right? So you're gonna align all the points that you have. And then once you can mark these, right, and the center point, that's where we're gonna do our half laps. Now that I have identified the center of all of these, right, center there, and center there, I also marked it here because this is where the other one is going to overlap onto this one, right? So again, you're gonna take this, and this is gonna overlap on this. All these lines help you to guide where you're going to cut out, okay? So that's what we're gonna do next, and we're gonna do that on the table saw. Now, if you've watched my introductory video, you will see that I mentioned making mistakes throughout my projects. And yes, there is one here. So if you notice, when I cut these, I thought I cut them into a perfect square, but I didn't. And on this one, although I had labeled it a number 2, and I do suggest you guys label stuff, I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I ended up cutting the wrong side. So keep track of stuff is my recommendation to you. So had I done this, these are all flush here, right? Now, because it isn't, now this one is protruding a little bit. Now, of course, you could sand this down, and obviously we're gonna have to pivot and make this work. The next part of this is kind of satisfying part, is just getting rid of all of these that go in the middle. That's why I have the chisel here, is to be able to get rid of all this added stuff. So let me get rid of this. I'll chisel this out, and we'll see if this overlaps. Now this next part would be to see if they actually overlap, if I can find the numbers. So that is our goal, right? And so notice there's a lot of slop there. Obviously we want to eliminate that. So we are going to eventually end up screwing these to the sides. And now let's see how big that error was for us. So had I not done that error, this would have been a little bit more aligned, right? This one is popping out, protruding more. So we're gonna have to fix that at some point. But for the most part, we have our two pieces here, and this is where we're gonna put the pot on, right? So eventually this will be the support system for it. This will be the support system for this bottom one, and we'll put some pieces on the side here in order to elevate this. So a lot of the project is going to be centered off hogging this wood out of here, right? But now our guest star is back, and so I'm going to put this here just to make sure that we're still good on measurement, which it looks like we are. So keep in mind the sides of this are going to come up through the sides here, and this is the base for this. So let's see if that'll actually work. Again, you're going to want to put this one on the bottom, right? The planter, or the plant in this case, is going to be resting on this top side. So that's how it would be. And we are going to put some lateral support this way in order to make the stand. So that looks good. I'm going to make the sides here just come up partially, maybe this high, right? So from here to here, and then the floor piece as well. So we're going to get doing that now. I'm probably going to use this just height wise. It looks like that's roughly how much I want to elevate the whole planter. So there's a lot of cleanup to be done in this as well. This one is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to try to aim to make this, again, the same width as this to keep everything very consistent. But again, we're dealing with scraps of wood here, so your mileage may vary, and you don't want to be so overly precise about this. It's just to get this plant off the ground, right? And again, we're eventually going to end up staining this or painting this, so it's not a big deal whether or not this matches perfectly with this, right? From a distance, everything's going to look perfectly okay, and we are going to break this down now, okay? So let me get on that, make some measurements, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so we have these cut. Let's move our guest appearance star here. So these are cut from a very ugly piece of wood, but you know what? Be a good time to actually mark these somehow, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, just because we want to kind of keep track of what the top side is, what the bottom side is. It's kind of difficult to not keep track of them right now, as dirty as they are. So again, these are going to go on the side of here. Obviously this is going to be higher up, and we're kind of going to let this gauge it. It's going to have like a little small leg here, and then we're going to have the piece of wood here on this part right here, right? One of the cross ones nailed into here, and then the other one higher up, so that it goes about halfway up here. So again, this is all coming from my head. I don't have plans for this, so if you can follow along with me, great. If not, see the end product and then come back to this step. But right now, we're gonna sand these. I'm gonna put them through a planer, but go ahead and sand these. I'm hoping you're not dealing with rough lumber the way I am right now. But let me go get these cleaned up, and we'll come back and we'll start doing some pocket hole screws and stuff like that. These are now planed down, or in your case, possibly just sanded down. One tip that I'm sure experienced woodworkers and YouTubers would tell you would be like, if you mark your pieces of wood, don't put them through a planer, because it will get rid of that, okay? So go ahead and make sure you mark the sides off and not the faces of what you're going to be sanding down. So that was very fun for me at the planer. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some pocket holes on these crosses, right? So let's get rid of our star appearance person there. All right, so what we want to do is, again, the planter is going to be sitting on top of this, right? Or the pot, rather. It's going to be sitting on top of this. This is very wonky, and I'm probably going to put 2 screws here with some glue to keep this firm, right? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put pocket holes and we're gonna put them here. I am going to mark this because I will forget where this is supposed to be marked, and that had a 1, so at some point that was some kind of marker for me. But now I know if I see this, that's where we're going to do our pocket hole, right? So in this case, we're gonna get our pocket hole jig here. We're gonna make our hole here, but I need to attach the vacuum, all this other stuff. So allow me to do that, set that up, and then we'll just do a B-roll of me just cutting all these pocket holes. Okay, I spared you the B-roll of me doing pocket holes, and it certainly had nothing to do with me forgetting to press the record button. I promise. I don't promise. I did do that. So I just did the pocket holes, and on one of these, I accidentally did the wrong side. So again, I'm not gonna hide my mistakes. I make mistakes while doing projects. It's how you fix those mistakes that really determines what good of a woodworker you are. So let's get rid of this pocket hole jig. We are going to be done with that. And so in essence, what we want to do is, so we're gonna overlap these. Again, you want to have the pocket holes on the bottom of it because you're gonna put the planter on top of it. But now, since I had the great idea of doing both sides on this, so now I'm gonna probably rest the pot on this one so you can't see the pocket holes. I'm still gonna drive them in through the bottom side. I'm going to put some glue on here as well and then drive a screw here. So actually I'll do that now. So we're gonna go ahead and get all the stuff to put glue on this. We'll drive a screw here to keep it kind of captive because there's a lot of play here that I don't like. I wish I would have had a tighter tolerance, but you live and you learn, okay? So let me do that. Let me grab some tools in order to do that. So all we're gonna do here is put some glue, right? And probably should have drilled this first. So let's put this here. So I wanna make it so that, So I want to make it so that this is going to sit flush, right? So get yourself some kind of bit that does pilot hole and also takes out a good piece there in order for the screw to sit flush. So that will be that. Okay. All right, so the glue is going to be the main fastener here, but we're going to drive the screw in, and then it's going to be captive here on the sides with these, so that'll keep it in place as well. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Okay, so we have our screw here. So that should keep that into place. Okay, that keeps that into place. We're going to have to figure this out because again, I did one mistake earlier on one of these, so I'm trying to see which side will be best to do this, and it looks like that would be our winner there. Okay, so the one that has this, right, is where the pot is going to rest. So because of that, we'll put this one on the top side, and this will be on the bottom side, and the legs will go across the top. Sorry, here-ish, right? So let's start doing that. I'll do a B-roll of me doing this because I'm not sure how I'm gonna hold any of this in place in order to do it. So now the next step we're gonna wanna do is get some kind of marking down here. I'm not sure how tall I want this to be, but let's kind of just rough estimate this, okay? So make sure we're squared up. So that line is gonna be a reference for where these are gonna go, right? So I also mark these, although we have learned that me marking stuff doesn't necessarily mean anything. So this is going to go here, right? So I'm going to add in the pocket hole screws here. These are 1 1/4 inch pocket holes, and I hope that's gonna be enough. You know what, I might pivot. Yeah, I might pivot and actually make some long or use some longer ones. So that's the goal right now. Let me start doing that. I might do this in B-roll just because, again, I have to figure out how I'm gonna do all this. I ended up going with 1 1/2 inch screws, Craig screws on each one. I've pre-driven some of these, and all I'm going to do is drive these home along the line that I had previously marked here. It's going to be interesting to hold up, but we'll figure it out, I'm sure. So at this point, I think I had just gone full on non-verbal on the video. And so I wanted to do a voiceover just to try to explain some of the things that I'm doing in this video, or in this part rather. I'm definitely using the clamps now, which I hadn't previously done. It was probably a solid 3 minutes of me trying to work this project in a way or manner that I could hold it up and screw it in while multitasking and trying to drive in the screws, and it just was not working. So lesson learned about either asking for help when doing projects like this, or just using your brain and slowing down, and definitely looking for a way to make it work or make it more stable. In this case, it was clamps that did it. I know if you don't have clamps, it'll be a lot more difficult to do something like this, but it isn't the ultimate limiting factor, just because I was able to figure it out once I put the clamps in. Obviously it's not going to spread apart, and the screws are long enough to fasten it. I didn't use any glue in these joints. The screws themselves should be enough to fasten this. And then once I screwed in, this happens to be the top part that I'm doing. And now that I've done all 4 of these, then now I'm going to flip over the base just to see stability wise if it's holding. And I'm sure by my expression here, you could probably tell that I was. All right, so I took off all the clamps. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I went with 2-inch screws, just because the 1 1/4 and the 1 1/2 were just not fitting correctly. So there you have it. That's finished product, right? So obviously we had some mistakes in this, these being one of them, right? So I would advise you to make sure that you're doing your pocket holes in the correct place. That goes for every single project, not just this one. So let's see if this actual pot will fit here. All right, so the hole didn't get covered as much as I would have liked. I could put this bottom thing, which actually, I think it needs it. So let's see. So that's a water catch. So let's leave that water catch in place. Okay, so that looks good. That's what I was picturing in my head, roughly, right? So now it's going to elevate it a little bit more off the floor. So this could be painted, stained. I really don't like this hole here. I'm going to have to do something about that. Not sure what. Fill it with something, or maybe put like some kind of dowel or something. But for now, we'll leave that as is. I'm going to, I think I'm gonna miter some of these edges. I don't like how sharp they are. I think they could be better. So maybe I'll do them at an angle here. I'll do that off camera, because I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that now that it's all constructed. But for the most part, this is your finished product here. Let me know if you have any comments or questions about how to do it. The tricky part for this definitely was this clamp situation. The clamps helped a lot. So if you don't have these, I would recommend getting a second set of hands, just because I was struggling hard just trying to get these just to stay up. And again, I had no plans for this. I was just kind of going off the fly, what kind of made sense in order to make this. And I had a vision of this being what it is. So it's a project that can be done probably like in less than an hour. It certainly would have taken me less than that had I not been filming. So my phone was dying at some point in the filming of this. And then I did some cleanup as well in the middle of that charging. So I think within an hour you can make a project like this, or even less. Honestly, it doesn't take a lot of rocket science. And if you already have, like, let's say 1x1s, a 1x1s is not going to cost you that much at a big box store, right? So at most it's going to cost you, I don't know, I want to say $3, $4. So if you want to avoid everything I did, all I saved is maybe $4 at the end of it. Is it worth it? Probably not, because I had to plane this, and there's a cost associated with planing and, you know, doing all that kind of stuff to get it nice and pretty, or as pretty as I could. But my goal for it is to be able to repurpose a lot of the wood that I got for free. That was basically going to be thrown away. So I want to repurpose this wood, make sure it actually fulfills his wood dreams here, so as it were. But this is it. Again, this is it built. It's pretty sturdy and stable, and the only thing left to do is going to be to paint it. So thank you so much for sticking around this far. I welcome any comments and suggestions for any other project that might be similar to this, something that goes into the house or outside in the garden. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you all sticking to the end. Bye. So I did end up actually staining this. I do have a spray gun. I usually paint my planters with this for a protective stain. So I wanted to go ahead and just cover it up a little bit, not because it needed the weather protection, because it's actually going to go indoors. But I just thought it would go a little bit better with some of the furniture that we have inside of the house. So I ended up painting all of it. It came out very nice, a little bit more orangey than I would have liked, and it clashes a little bit with the inside door that we have. But I think for now, this would be good. I think if I had to redo it over, I could possibly do it black just to contrast fully with the indoors, or maybe something closer to our inside door color. But for now, I just want to kind of play around with the coloring, and I need to get better about spraying stuff down. So this was a good experience, a good exercise outside, and it was beautiful outside anyway. It wasn't super hot yet. So this is me just wrapping up the painting of this, and I'll show you the finished product shortly.